What we're going to be working on tonight is vote by design. And I've already clicked the little plus sign here, which drops down and gives you a short description of what the module is, which you can use if you want to see what each one of the other modules is. Oh, and here's another neat thing that happened today. Some of the college students that are a part of our Young Voters Advisory Board realized that we have students studying abroad who may not realize that they can vote from abroad. So they're making an adaptation of the Student Voting Advocate Toolkit specifically for students studying abroad. And they have already reached out to several universities to find out the best way to distribute those. So we have some exciting things. These are all the lessons that are in the Fighting for the Vote, which reflects the league goal of empowering voters. The lessons in the Fighting for Change section reflect the league's goal of defending democracy. Now, we adhere to league policies. The one that is really important to make sure that any school that you work with, anybody that you talk with in schools understands is that we adhere to the policy of nonpartisanship. And the definition of that for the league that we use is that we do not take a position on any political candidate, nor do we take a position on any political party. Now, there is some controversy right now about whether the league is actually nonpartisan because people think of advocacy in the same bundle as nonpartisanship, where it actually nonpartisanship reflects political action, not advocacy. In order to get into and to maintain our reputation in schools, we also are not following we don't advocate for anything. We have a policy for energizing young voters that is called our issue agnostic policy, which means that regardless of our personal political position on any issue, when we go into schools, we are absolutely neutral. We approach it as a fact that our job is to help every student identify the issue that he or she or they are most concerned about and learn the skills that exist within our democratic processes to make or influence the change in that issue. Particularly when we're teaching the first two of these, it is essential to remain completely nonpartisan. Issue agnostic. And we ask people at the beginning that if anything that they hear or anything that they are made to participate in them makes them uncomfortable because they think it is not issue agnostic, they need to let us know so that we can make some adjustments. And I'll give you two examples of times when that has happened. The first one is in What's Your Issue? When kids come up with the ideas that of the issues that are important to them. And then there's a slide that has like flashes that come out and say, many kids before you said it was important to talk about healthcare and taxes and war. And then one of them said gun control. And I was challenged at the end of that lesson. And one student in a very red area said that slide is partisan or is not, free of advocacy. And I said, tell me why. And he said, because for me, what that should say is gun rights. And I took a deep breath and I said, you're right. So how do we solve this? It's still an issue for you, and it's still an issue for people who think there should be gun control. He said, just put the word guns there. And I said, okay. And so that was one of the changes that we made. Another one was a challenge from a group of teachers. In the same lesson, we have 4 videos that students watch who are young, passionate advocates for the issue they care about. One of them was Greta Thunberg. One of them was David Hogg. One of them was Ashton Moda, who was an LGBTQ rights advocate. and one was Naomi Osaka, who was a Black Lives Matter. And the teacher said to me, those 4 issues are all left-leaning issues. And again, I had to say, you're right. So what do we do? So they helped me come up with 2 young people who are advocating, one for the right to life and one for academic freedom, the right to promote or to believe and speak about issues that tend to be more right-leaning than left-leaning in universities. And the kids don't have, we tell them they do not have to agree with the positions these people are taking. What we're trying to do is to make them look at it and say, what are the leadership qualities that this person is demonstrating that make other people listen to them? So the issue itself doesn't matter, but it confronts them with the fact that people do have positions on many different sides of an issue. So enough said about that. Let's go back to Vote by Design. And you click on the View Modules. And the screen that comes up has one folder that has individual elections in it, and then several individual documents. The one that I print ahead of time when I go in person is the questionnaire. And what you're going to be doing, I'll put the link to this in the chat, and if you know how to do it, you can actually open the document on a tab on your computer. If you don't, I'll just leave this up as like this, but you'll have to write down what your choices are. So we ask the kids to make some decisions about what they want in a candidate. And then the other side of that asks them to keep notes when they watch the debate clips that are in there, in the lesson. So having that ahead of time, I also make sure that I have small sticky notes, not the big ones, but the kids will be writing maybe 1 or 2 words on it. And in person, what I ask them to do is to take those sticky notes and either bring them up and paste them, stick them to the whiteboard that's in the room, or if I can't do that, just stick them on their desk and I walk around and use them. But it gives them the chance to do something physical rather than just listening through the whole thing. We have what we call exit tickets that we use at the end of a lesson to try to find out from the kids something that they believed at the beginning of the lesson or felt at the beginning of the lesson, and how their thinking or feelings have changed because of the lesson by the end of it. And when we do that, the responses that we get from the kids really support the fact that what we're doing does make a difference in their lives. So that's the questionnaire. This is just basic materials that you can look at yourself to supplement your own knowledge. When I open the individual elections folder, you can see the way that they're all laid out there. If you're not from New Jersey, obviously the state elections are going to have to be modified for what you do. The others will need minor modifications, and I'll show you what some of those are. In each one of the lessons, it starts out very much the same. And then there is a slide that says what actually is the job of and then whatever it is. So for the president, it shows you where in the Constitution it can be found and what the actual responsibilities that are delineated there and what the qualifications that are delineated there exist. And then we flesh it out a little bit to show them what's actually included in Article 2 of the Constitution. If we go to a Board of Education election, don't tell me my computer is acting up. Haha. 'Cause I, 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 'cause and you get down to that same slide, you'll see where you can actually find the description in New Jersey of the job of a New Jersey school board's member. And then we flesh that out again. And in this case, we add a slide that shows visually what some of the decisions are that school board members need to make, because it helps kids better frame the qualities they want to see in a person who's running for that office. Okay. But again, let's go back to vote by design. So we are going to be using the one on primary elections. And I'll tell you, I'm going to stop sharing just for a minute because I want to show you what I'm doing. I know that if you're familiar with Zoom, you probably are very comfortable using the presenter's notes part of the screen. I find it cumbersome because I can't see what's happening on the screen when that happens. So I actually make for myself a little folder that I keep right in the front. I can still keep eye contact with somebody. When I go into a classroom, sometimes I recommend that people do this, but you can also download the entire script to your phone if that's easier for you, or to an iPad or something of that sort, so that you're not having to flip pages all the time. So any of those things, anything that's going to let you keep the script in front of you is going to make you feel more comfortable, I think. Just had somebody else come into the waiting room. So I'm going to be using the script that I have today, and I encourage, it's written. Hello, Tila, how are you?
Hi, sorry I'm late.
That's okay. Just come on in and then mute yourself.
Muting myself.
You'll pick up where we have, and you can always use the recording. Going back to the module here, I want to show you what the script itself looks like. So here's the primary elections that I'm using. So this is the slideshow, which you will be seeing tonight, but this is the script.
We're not seeing your screen.
Oh, thank you. That's why I need people to okay. Can you see it now? I think so. Okay. So
yes, we can see it.
There's a little image of the actual slide, so that when you're looking at the screen that's on in the front of the room, you can be sure you're on the right one. And then it actually tells you what to say, and it gives notes to the teacher about what you should do at particular times. This one talks about if you're doing it in the spring, do it this way. If you're doing it in the fall, skip this one, that one, and the next one. It tells you if the slide is a build, so you don't jump through it too quickly. And I would also say always practice these ahead of time, just so you know you're comfortable when you're actually presenting it. So everything is there for you that you should need in order to be able to deliver the program very effectively. After you've done it 100 times, you probably won't need it, but just know it's there for you. Okay. So there are many elected positions in our government, but let's take a closer look today at how somebody actually gets elected to the job. You can apply what we learned today to any election, any other elected position. Just do some research, use reliable resources, and we'll tell you about some of those at the end. Don't use what you hear on social media. Please check reliable resources. And what you're trying to do is to learn exactly what the job is and exactly what the official believes that they should be doing when they get that job, what they're responsible for. So today, because it is almost primary election time in New Jersey, we're going to stop and talk a little bit about the primary election and why we should even bother to vote in one. Well, in some cases, when we've been in a school, we can refer back to what we were doing. But if they did, they would have learned that in most states, well, and actually in every state, that the state is actually responsible for making the rules that govern elections in that state. Therefore, the way a person gets on a ballot is decided state by state by state. At different times prior to November, different states hold something that's called a primary election, while some others hold what they call a caucus. There are also different kinds of primary elections. Some are called open, some are closed, and some are semi-closed. In New Jersey, we have a semi-closed election, a primary election. And here's what it's like. In a primary election, we choose members of a political party who are the strongest candidates we feel, if we're a part of that party, to run for office in November against the strongest candidate from the other party. So let's try to see this more clearly. Let's pretend we have two parties. One is called the Black Party, which you see on the screen, and the other one is the Blue Party. And in this case, 3 people in each party want to run for the position on the ballot in November. Declared members of that party, meaning you say you're a Republican in New Jersey or you say you're a Democrat in New Jersey, vote for the person that they think should be the candidate on the ballot in November. And those people who are declared in the Black Party can only vote for one of these 3 people. And those people who have declared in the Blue Party can only vote for one of these 3 people because they're trying to pick the best one in each party. So there will be one winner, and the rest of them are out. And then those 2 winners will be on the ballot in November. And at that time, anybody, whether they're in the Black Party or the Blue Party or undeclared, anybody can vote for either the Black Party person or the Blue Party person to put them in the office. So how do you get ready for a primary in New Jersey? Well, you need to affiliate with a party so you can vote with that party. And there are 2 ways you can do that. The first one only works once. If you're registered, and when you registered, you did not declare a party, you only have to go to your polling place on the day of the election or during early voting and say you want to vote in the primary. And at that point in time, the poll worker will say to you, well, do you want to vote as a Republican or do you want to vote as a Democrat? You tell them, and that makes you affiliated with that party until you make the decision to change it. And then you have to do that in writing. The second way works all of the time. And you can add or you can change your affiliation when there's a voter registration drive or when you get the application form, and you can download that from the New Jersey Board of Elections website. Even if you're already registered, with kids, we say, like, most of you got it with your driver's license if you're a driver, or you might have registered online or at a registration event. You can always complete a new form because only your most recent voter registration application will be recognized as yours. And in fact, you definitely should do that. If you change your address or you change your name or your signature changes, as it will over time, or if you want to change your affiliation or become affiliated for the first time. You can just check the box in line 1 saying that you want to affiliate with a party and then complete the rest of the form. And then on line 13, you will say that you want to affiliate with either the Republican or the Democratic Party. And as I said, then you remain affiliated with that party right through the until you actually change it by either filling out a new application form or by putting it in writing to the Board of Elections. All right, so why is this important today? Well, New Jersey has a very high profile primary election coming up on June 4th. It's not only presidential candidates that run in primary elections. Right now, here in New Jersey, we have a senatorial primary race, and that's the senator that will go to Washington. It's really heating up. And voters who vote on June 4th, even if the presidential candidate is already pretty much decided, voters who vote on June 4th will have the opportunity to decide which one of the candidates in the party that they're affiliated with will actually get on the ballot in November. So, in fact, the primary election may be much more important because of the senatorial race than because of the presidential race. In the presidential primary, it only happens once every 4 years. Voters have a choice. Declared Republicans choose the person they think should run in the Republican ticket, and Democratic voters think they should choose who they think. So the Democratic candidates for Senate, there are 5 of them, and there are 2 that are pretty hotly contested election or what's the word I'm looking for? It's escaping me. And there are 7 Republican candidates, probably without as much hoopla, but still the voters will get to choose just one of those to go on the ballot in November. So it's important to vote in the primary election. All right, so because of the senatorial race coming up, that's the one that we're going to pay attention to today. And this is an aside. I'm talking to the teacher part of you now. The reason we use the senatorial race rather than the presidential race is because there's way too much emotion around the presidential race. So this gives us an opportunity to teach the skills with a less controversial topic, which is less likely to raise the ire of individual people. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and remind me if I screw up again to do it. So let's set the stage. What I want to ask you to do right now is to answer a poll for me. And I want you to put it into the chat. You're going to be asked 3 questions, and each question you have the opportunity to make one choice. So the first question is, listen to the choices. The first question is, how well do you think you understand the job of your representative in Washington, D.C.? Do you know it really well, pretty well, not very well, at all, or not at all? So one of those things. Do you know the job of a representative in Washington? Okay, good. So you are all my gifted children. Remember that. In schools, I get a whole variety of answers, and more on the lower end than on the upper end, which makes sense. All right. The second question: if you're a current voter, or when you begin to vote, do you think you'll vote for a representative based on policy issues or based on the candidate's personal traits? So your choices are only on policy, mostly on policy, mostly on the person, or only on the person. So I'll say those again. Your choices are policy, only on policy, mostly on policy, mostly on the person, or only on the person.
Pat, is that specifically in a primary? How do I
No,
think
this could
about
be
voting?
Any
Just-
election.
Just wanted to make
Good
sure.
question.
It's different
Thank you.
answer.
Okay. Okay. Most of you are more policy wonks than personality wonks. All right. The last question. Can you name right now what previous work experience, leadership qualities, and personal attributes that are important to you in a candidate to be your senator in DC? So do you have full clarity on the personal traits and leadership qualities? Do you have a lot of clarity? Do you not have a lot of clarity, or do you have no clarity at all? When I'm doing this with kids, I don't ask them, obviously, to write in the chat. What I've been doing most recently that's quick and easy is to ask them to give me a thumbs up for the thing that they believe. So I can get a pretty good view of the whole class and see where they stand on their feelings of comfort with the decisions that they're going to have to make. Okay, I'm going to try to remember to share my screen again. Okay, so let's remember that as a voter, you're actually hiring somebody to do a job. I mean, we call it voting, but you're really putting a person in a position that you want them to do. So what are you actually hiring for, and how do you describe it? What are the main responsibilities of that job? What previous experiences do you think would help the person you hire do the job well? And what personal and leadership qualities would be helpful to get the job done? So those are, oh, sorry. What are you actually hiring for? How do you describe it? What previous experiences should the person have, and what personal or leadership qualities should they would help to get the job done? So where do you find the answers to those in when you're trying to elect a senator? Well, your representative's job is actually found in the United States Constitution. It's in Article 1, Section 1. And that states that all legislative, which means lawmaking powers, herein granted shall be vested in the Congress of the United States, which shall consist of the Senate and the House of Representatives. So essentially, the senator is a lawmaker. Now, at this point, this is one of the points where I would have sticky notes out so that either on the students' individual desks, or if there are tables, I put a couple on the table. And then they can take one. And I ask them to take a sticky note and to write on it one thing they believe is a requirement that a senator must meet. Now that's a requirement, so something that they absolutely have to have in order to be able to run for office. And then after they've written it down, I have them come up and stick it on a board. If I can't do that, I walk around, and without identifying the student, like I'll read one and I'll walk a couple of desks away, and then I'll say what I saw on that particular sticky note that's on the desk. All right, so I would ask you to do that for yourself right now. On the piece of paper that you have available to you, write down what you think are the qualifications that are required for a senator.
Senator.
A U.S. senator, not a state senator.
Everyone else.
Okay, and I'm going to reveal the ones that are actually written in the Constitution. They have to be at least 30 years old for the Senate. They have to be a citizen of the United States, but they can either be natural born or naturalized citizens, providing that they've been a citizen for 9 years. And they have to be an inhabitant of the state that elects him, her, or them. That's it.
So it's only 30. I thought it was 30. Oh, the president has to be 35.
Right. There are different things that's why I said we do this for each one of the positions, because the jobs are just slightly different and there are different qualifications and responsibilities in each one. So that surprises, the thing that surprises kids most about that is that you can be a naturalized citizen. Most of them have thought you've got to be a U.S. citizen, a natural born U.S. citizen. So we have a little discussion about that. Okay, write down some of the things that you think are the responsibilities of your senator when they get to Washington.
Mm.
And again, I ask the kids to write just one usually when I'm using the sticky notes, and then to bring it up and put it on the whiteboard. And I group them together. So if 5 people say the same thing, I just stick them all together. So I only have to read the different things that come up or that have been brought up. So these are what they actually are. They have to represent you and inform you about what they're doing. They have to draft and pass legislation. They serve on different committees and those are assigned to them. They have to approve or reject nominations by the president and treaties with foreign governments. So that means like the Supreme Court justices or positions to the cabinet. And only the Senate can hold an impeachment trial. But before the trial, we know that the Assembly has to actually declare that a person is impeached. So that's it for the responsibilities. All right, so now what I'd like you to do is to write down a personal quality that you think you would like to see in the senator that you elect in the fall. Okay, what did some of you say?
Oh, oh,
Okay, I'll skip that. So maybe you chose something like inspiring or innovative, fair, honest, empathetic, analytical, decisive, and there are dozens and dozens more. But no matter what you chose, by first identifying what really matters to you, that can help you imagine the type of person, like your imaginary perfect leader that you'd like to see in office. And then you get to vote for the person who is most like that. You're never going to have a person who is an exact match to what your perfect leader is. If that person's not there, does that mean you shouldn't vote? Absolutely not. You want to vote for the person that is closest to your values. Because if you don't, you're letting other people make the decision for you about what is important in a person in an elected office. So when we frame the choice around that and the personal and leadership qualities that we value, we may actually end up with a different view of what matters than if we look first at the candidates and try to say, okay, which one is the better one? Without that reflection ahead of time, it's a much more emotional response rather than a thoughtful response. And the leadership criteria worksheet that I showed you right in the beginning as something that I copy and give out to the kids, this is where I give it out. So this is going to help you choose what you believe is most important regarding the past experiences and leadership qualities and attributes of any official and help you make a better choice. So let me just do something. I'm going to try to put the link in the chat for the questionnaire so that if you want to use it, you can do that. I'm going to stop the share for a second. All right. So this link should take you to that. Did we hit it? Sorry, it's going to the wrong person. There we go. All right. If you click on that link, it'll take you to the actual form and it should open up on a different tab on your computer. And then you can use the form right from there. What I'm going to do is to also put it on the screen so that you can see the qualities that you can choose from. And I just messed it up. All right. So in the top part uh, of the questionnaire, you only can pick 3. You can only pick 3 previous experiences and 3 personal attributes. So I'll give you a minute to decide which are your top 3 in each of those. If you're doing it on a piece of paper, just write down those 3 because you're going to need it for the next activity. Okay. And then there are leadership qualities. This time you can pick 5, but only 5. The other side of this screen, of this document, has space for kids to take notes. Because what you're going to do now is to watch debate clips from an actual Senate race in a different state, not in New Jersey. But what your job is going to be is to try to decide yourself. Well, that's interesting. Huh.
Possibly because you froze.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, so I'm hoping that everybody has had a chance to choose all of those qualities that they're interested in: the leadership, the personal, and the job and the previous experiences. So this piece asks the students to take notes so that they can make good comparisons. And what you'll see students doing if you give the papers out to them is flipping back and forth. We give them time in between, but they flip back and forth so they can refer to the qualities that they've chosen and the candidates that they have picked. Okay, so as you watch, I want you to consider the following questions. What do you notice about how the candidates present their leadership qualities, both through their words and through their actual physical presence? And what else do you notice? And watch for other things about their body language that may tell you things different than what they want you to hear. And then what do you see or hear that either aligns with or differs from your own priorities? So candidates that run for office spend a lot of time honing their messages and practicing so that they try to present themselves to the American public as the best person for the job. So this is a case where Claire McCaskill was up against Josh Hawley. I'm going to play Claire's first, take another look at your qualities and characteristics, and then see what you see in this.
Because I look at every issue on its merits and not on a party line.
Despite voting
right.
with Chuck Schumer 90% of the time, however. So apparently Chuck Schumer must be on that.
And President Trump 50% of the time.
Time now for closing comments from each of you. Senator McCaskill, you are first.
Yes. You know, I have traveled the state I loved and I've listened. And, you know, we have a lot of differences, but there's so many things Missourians agree on. Campaigns are a time that we highlight differences. But I think they should also be a time that voters take a hard look at which candidate can do more than criticize their opponent. Who can actually find common ground? I'm very proud of what I've gotten done in the Senate. Tonight on my website, clairemccaskill.com, you can find 100 accomplishments that I have gotten across the finish line for Missourians. I did that by working across the aisle, listening and, yes, sometimes compromising. Whether it's veterans benefits or bringing down the cost of prescription drugs, I will work with anyone, anytime to make things better. Can I be pushy? Yes. Obnoxious sometimes? Yeah, maybe. But I will roll up my sleeves, be independent, and work as hard as I know how for the families of Missouri all day long. I would be honored to have your vote.
Mr. Hawley.
Okay. So use your self-reflection form. Try to determine, make notes about how Claire matches or doesn't match what you're looking for in a leader in the Senate. Okay, I'm going to go on and listen to Josh Hawley.
that I have gotten across the finish line for Missourians.
And over that time, she has become a party line politician. She said that she'd be independent. She said that she would be bipartisan, but she hasn't been. Whether it's border security or health care, whether it's putting pro-Constitution judges on the bench, every priority that this state has said is at the top of their list, whether it was 2016 or earlier, Senator McCaskill has voted against. And here's what I think we need. It's time we had someone in Washington who wasn't part of the old battles, who doesn't owe anything to anybody, but who is going to go and represent the people of this state, who will stand with the people of this state every single time, who's proud of our way of life, who knows it, who loves it, and who will represent it. And I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Hawley. I want to thank both of the candidates.
Okay, same thing. Go back and make notes for your, look at the notes that you made for yourself and try to decide how he compares to those qualities and characteristics. Okay, tell me what you noticed about the candidates, how they presented themselves and how it compared to what you put down yourself.
He spoke more about attacking her and what she did or did not do than what he would do. She spent the time not even mentioning him, but just going right to what she has done or will do.
Okay, and how did that compare or connect to the qualities that you had put on your sheet as important to you?
One of the qualities that I had was relationship building. And she came off better than he did because of his attacks rather than talking about what he would do.
Okay. How about somebody else?
I thought that she was, I mean, I agree with Marlene. You know, his attack was, it just didn't sit right. But she's decisive and very disciplined. And, you know, she stated what it is that she's already done. I know he doesn't have that experience because he's probably new at it, but she was very specific in what she was going to do, and that she was going to, you know, she had a lot of integrity, what she was going to do for the people of her state.
Okay, and that matched the quality.
That matched my, decisive, integrity and discipline. The
Okay.
discipline was what I appreciated most.
Okay. Robin, how about you?
So I had a really hard time looking at them objectively because I know who they are and I know the outcome. So I really couldn't say, but if I tried to make it really objective, I think they both displayed the leadership the characteristics that I thought were important. Like they both were very confident and they tried to be visionary, like this is what kind of do. But, and I didn't have any attributes in terms of, be married, any of those, whatever that category was. I had none of those as were important to me whatsoever. So I didn't, the gender didn't come into it or anything like that. So in general, they both sort of hit some of the points of what I thought was important.
Okay, thank you. Jeanette. You're muted, Jeanette. Do you have your hand raised? I mean, it looks.
Yes. No,
Okay.
yeah, I did. Excuse me. I did, but I was trying to unmute. But anyway, I guess what stood out to me was the fact that in the characteristics I was looking for was someone who would be analytic. And I thought that she presented herself by coming up with numbers to tell you that she's done and you can cross-reference that. That was important. I didn't hear her attack, and I don't want to say the word attack, but I didn't hear her use any language to show disrespect toward the other candidate. She just did not go there at all. And he did, and that was upsetting to me.
Okay, so he She matched the qualities that you had listed on.
Yes,
the-
strong communicator, her integrity, because she did not, go the negative. And I think she is resilient because she was able to come back and keep the flow of the language going without any interruptions.
Okay. Zach, I'm going to put you on the spot. We want to hear a young person's point of view.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with what everyone's been saying, especially what Marlene brought up and Jeanette. The two qualities that I think I really saw in McCaskill were flexibility and confidence, which I listed as important leadership qualities. I really liked how she like talked about her working across the aisle and how, she didn't vote on party lines. And I know that that was kind of contested by Holly, but I liked how she was really confident in the decisions that she's made, and she was very transparent. And so yeah, I appreciated that kind of mix between being confident in what she believes, but also flexible and willing to cross party lines to get something done.
Thank you. Did anybody find that they were conflicted about anything, that the person they wouldn't have voted for still had qualities that they admired?
Well, if you look really hard, you can usually find something reasonably okay in just about everybody. So yeah, there were certain things about him. He was, because I am not a Holly fan, he was confident in what he was saying. He did present himself well. He was able to, debunk what she was saying. And he probably has heard her say it a million times, but he still had to be quick on his feet to be able to answer in real time. So there
Okay.
was that.
Anybody else? Okay.
I found her somewhat abrasive. I mean, the fact that he attacked her turned me off about him because I don't like the negativity. But I also found there was something about her. I don't know if she won or lost or anything else, but there was something about her that was very abrasive and not necessarily believable. So that's, that was my reaction. But it's also very important to me for someone to be honest and caring.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't come off that way. He did, more so to me.
Okay. And that's the reason that I asked this question. If anybody else would like to jump in and answer that too. Okay, the reason that I asked it is because when I work with the kids, first of all, they don't know those candidates. So they have no idea who came out the winner. And they're actually looking at the qualities. And sometimes they're really perceptive about not just the words, but the body language.
Yes, yes.
And I think that was something that was pretty clear between Caskill and Hawley, and McCaskill and Hawley in this particular one. One stood like this, and the other one was like this, which is one of the things that I noticed first. And so, and the other thing is that kids very often today, and Josh, Zach, you can correct me on this, but they tend to be issue voters rather than anything that might be more personality or whatever. And so if that's the case, then they're going to be listening for different things than if we're listening for leadership qualities and personality qualities as well. They're going to be looking for the person who's speaking to what they care about the most. Is that what you see with your friends, Zach? Are they issue voters?
Yeah, definitely. Like when I think about my friends in relation to like my parents or grandparents, I think my parents and grandparents generally like tend to describe the candidates that they like on like personal traits.
Mhm.
I mean, that being said, I think with I think like generally like in schools, especially, I know I haven't been to college, but I know in high school and I know that in higher education generally, there's if they're overwhelmingly liberal. So I can definitely see how like partisanship is kind of like, people feel pressured to be more liberal and democratic leaning. But yeah, on the whole, I think generally the reasoning is more based on the issues and not just personal traits.
Okay, so that is going to influence the way they respond to that question. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Jeanette, is your hand up again, or did you
Yes.
just need to put? Okay, good.
It's up
I
again,
always forget to put mine down. That's why I asked.
and that's fine to be
I don't know how to
mindful.
do that.
But a quick question, in the lesson, I'll call it a lesson plan. In the plan that you have outlined, you had the participants decide on characteristics, but before that, you had them answer questions about how they might vote. Would a discussion before that questionnaire take place so that they kind of know what to start thinking about?
You mean the question that I just asked about whether they're issue voters or whether they're policy voter? I mean, whether they're personality voters?
Right, at the very beginning, when
Yes,
you were, asking
that's
questions.
probably a piece that you missed, but that's one of the things we ask people to rate themselves or reflect for themselves. Not rate, but reflect on what their personal preferences are,
And
or how
would the
much they
students,
knew, how much they know or don't know about a particular candidate.
and would you be confident that the students would understand what you're talking about? Would there have been some discussion prior to those questions so that they would have the language in place?
There's not discussion prior to asking them the what they think is more important. That's a good point. I'll have to think about that one.
Okay, thank you.
Next challenge that we confront kids with is, all right, so you had your perfect leader in mind while you were watching this, but guess what? Nobody's perfect, and you're never going to find that exact person. So what we do is to put them into groups, usually 4 to 5 to a group, which turns out to be very convenient today, and ask them to share with everybody in the group what their top 3 personal qualities were, what their top 3 job experiences were, and what their top 5 leadership qualities were. And then as a group, you have to compromise with one another and come up with the 3 previous experiences that you can all agree on, so that if a candidate had those 3, you could vote on them. The 3 personal qualities and the 5 leadership qualities. It's a very challenging activity for the kids. And I'm going to give you a message that comes across is it's hard. It's hard to pick that candidate. And it really means that you have to pay some pretty close attention. I mean, you only had 60 seconds worth of a person speaking to you about an issue. That's not enough in order to be able to make a good decision about the candidate. So you do need to look much more deeply at it. And you do need to be willing to compromise, because as I said, nobody is going to be perfect. There are 2, I'm going to go back to sharing the screen. There are 2 other things that become a part of this if there's time. The one that I most want to have people take part in is, all right, these are 2 places where you can get accurate information about voting in New Jersey. Vote411.org, as all the league members know, is supposed to have information about every single candidate in every race, all the way down to the local elections. We know that doesn't happen. It's not always, it's not at the top of legislators' minds to give information or answer the questions that the league is asking. You can get very accurate information about all of the who, what, when, where, why, and how of voting on the New Jersey elections website. And there is a mobile app that you can download. And I use this constantly when I'm doing voter registration with young people at college level, because many of them don't know if they're registered. And there are young people, particularly in more urban areas, that don't get a driver's license.
Mhm.
And they can check to see if they're registered to vote on that mobile app. All they need to do is put in their name and their date of birth, and their voting record or not it will let them know whether or not they're registered to vote. And then I've got the voter registration form right there, and they can fill it out, and then I either mail it or take it to the Board of Elections. So that's very useful. If you are working with kids, I would have that on my phone ready to use. My county has one that's equally good, but because we work across the state, this is the one that I use. But what I mentioned before was that there are other things that you need to do in order to find out what the candidates believe and what matches what you want them to be in terms of people when they get into that office. You can find a lot by looking at their website, at their Twitter accounts, at their Instagram accounts, and at their Facebook accounts. They are going to put out there what they want you to think about them. And so when you read those or when you check those out, you have to do it with the characteristics in mind that we're doing. If you're reading about them, or if you're listening to a podcast about them, or watching a TV presentation, the media bias chart that's shown there on the left comes from Ad Fontes Media. That's ADFONTES.com. This is an organization that was started by a young woman fresh out of college who decided that there needed to be a better way to get accurate information. And so she had the brainstorm that she would pull together somebody on the left, somebody on the right, and somebody in the center, and have them read or watch or listen to 10 different pieces from a particular source. So for example, there might be a left, a right, and a center who is evaluating the Associated Press. They would get 10 pieces, and then they need to sit down together and try to do what you just tried to do and come to consensus about where on that media bias chart that resource or that source should be placed. At the top of the chart are the most reliable sources that they've agreed to. And at the bottom of the chart are the least reliable, sometimes with totally fabricated information. And then the sources are arranged from left to right, so you can see what the most left-leaning is and what the most right-leaning is. So if you've got this, and there is a mobile app for that too, you can, and the QR code is there on the screen. So I tell the kids they can, download it right onto their phones, and they'll have it accessible to them. It is updated every single month. And it is a huge organization now, which not only provides this chart for you each month, but also will provide workshops, has lesson plans, and it is free, which is the amazing thing. So it's really a good resource to share with kids. We use it not just for this, but we use it with just about everything, because it's like sometimes we tell kids if they're going to be advocating for a position that they believe in, they've got to frame their arguments. They need to prepare themselves with the most reliable, most centrist information possible, but they also need to know what people on the left are saying and what people on the right are saying, and they need to know what kind of information is out there from much less reliable resources, so that they can be ready to rebut arguments that they might get, or they need to adjust their arguments so that it already kind of negates what somebody else might be willing to say. So I would really recommend that you take a look at that. I think it's a very valuable resource.
I can see.
I just used the QR code It's
Yes.
incredible.
Uh-huh.
It really is. This is wonderful.
I could see this being very helpful with 7th and 8th graders because the pictures, the visual is key for them. And they would pick up on this right away. And I could see some great discussions, and maybe actually getting hands-on with some of the materials to bring them to school and have a discussion about them and so
Mhm.
forth.
Yeah, it's very useful.
Yep.
Okay.
I
the
can,
other thing-
I can see this
Oh, I'm
with
sorry. Hang
using
on.
it with adults who don't vote.
Yes, it's used, I use it constantly for myself. When I see something that I want to check out, I'm thinking, so I check to see where the source comes from. And I make my husband do it too, because he reads everything that comes across, his news feed. And so of course he's getting deeper and deeper into this tunnel. So it's very helpful.
And you just said, I'm sorry, I'll be real quick. You just said a key word, team. And that's important for people running for office and so forth, to have their team to help them so that they know how to go out and get the vote, knowing what people want, what they need, et cetera, et cetera. Done. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Okay, so the next thing that we do is give them some basic information about the upcoming election, what they should do between now and the actual election. So that information is all there for them. And then we ask them to use the exit tickets. I used to think, and now I think. So what has been, this is one of the things that we're hoping to start, is a good solid ambassador program, bringing in young people who are interested in what we're doing and kind of grooming them for leadership positions in the organization. We offer in-service credit, we offer service credits for kids who need that for organizations. We write letters of recommendation if they have contributed, substantially to the organization. We give them volunteer hours. It looks great on a resume or on college applications. So we're really hoping to build that young ambassadors team. It's going to be important for the future. And I'm going to stop sharing and tell you what the one other thing that we do that I'm not covering tonight because it's getting late and I thought we would be going further. I didn't give you a break in the middle. Once the kids have that sense of who their perfect leader as a group is, or who the leader they can live with as a group is, we challenge them. If we have enough time, so this is usually if the teacher is going to extend the lesson afterwards, we challenge them to say, okay, what are some of the most likely problems that a newly elected senator is going to face over the next term of office? And come up with a group of those challenges that they're likely to face. And then we give them the scenario in small groups. All right, so your legislator has been in office for 9 months. Long enough to get their feet on the ground, but probably not long enough to have a really good, solid reputation as the person in that office. This is the challenge that came up. You have 5 minutes to write the opening lines of a press conference that you are going to give to the public, reflecting those leadership qualities that you picked out that will make your constituency feel comfortable that you've got this under control. And it is a very powerful experience for the kids to do. So if you do this lesson and you have the time to do it, or you want the teachers to find out how to do it as a follow-up lesson, you can get in touch with me and I'll walk you through the whole thing. It's amazing to see the kind of thinking that comes out of the kids when they're pressured under time to get this thing done and to really make it reflect what the leadership qualities are. So that's pretty much it. What is any questions and answers that we can do for you at this point before I let you go for the evening? Marlene?
I've just been looking for the New Jersey election website app, and I haven't been able to find it. Is there another name for it?
There is a convoluted way to get at it. If you go to on the web, if you go to the New Jersey Board of Elections website, then you can download the app from there.
Okay, thank you.
You keep telling me there is a way that you can use like Apple Play and Google and all that kind of stuff, but I have found it hard to find. So
Yeah, I just I went to the Play Store because I have an Android, and it was nothing there that said New Jersey, election.
okay, so go to the website for the New Jersey Board of Elections and you can download it from there.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I thought this was very interesting.
Thank you. If I said to you, has your thinking changed? So before you started tonight, I used to think, but now I think, what would you say? I'm actually asking you to reflect. I'm not going to ask you for your answers.
I can go. I think one
Go
thing
ahead.
that I think was really helpful was just hearing everyone else's views on like the previous experience for like determining what your
Mhm.
ideal representative or senator would be. I hadn't really thought too much about it, and when I was filling it out, I didn't think it was super important. But I think just hearing some of the points that you guys made about having administrative, executive experience, having legislative experience, especially thinking about someone who's going to be leading an office and leading a team, and who has to work in our political system. I think I definitely understand more the merits of that type of experience, and I think I'm more open to like seeing the necessity of that type of experience.
Thank you.
Thank
Anybody
you,
else?
Pat.
I wasn't going to make you, but I'm very glad that you contributed that, Zach. That was very, very helpful. Okay, I will thank all of you for coming tonight, and I really look forward to hearing from you and learning whether or not you have the opportunity to use this lesson or change this lesson in some way and make it work better for you. So thank you. I will see you all soon. I'll stop the recording and then say good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.